right, y'all. Welcome to the Choppin It Up Show. I'm your host, Joe Beard. Happy to be of service for you today. Today is October 19th, 2025, 3:07 on the West Coast and 6:07 on the East Coast. We appreciate all those listening live or listening in podcast form through our various channels. And so we always appreciate the support and we love you for it. So we always have good guests on the show today, but this one's special because this is like someone that's became family to me. And just in the recent times, we have met we've met more HBCU graduates here in the city where I'm from. You guys, I've explained it. About an hour from LA, and so it's a little bit different when you find some HBCU graduates, but even it's not a whole lot of brothers around here. And so I have a very interesting story with our guest today. But I'm going to let him tell some of the story and we'll find out all about him. One and only Charles Marshall. How you doing in this podcast, man? Hold on, let me think I gotta unmute something.
Yeah, it says the host has muted your mic.
Oh, there he is. There it is. Okay.
How you doing, Brother Beard? Can you hear me now?
Yeah.
Okay,
How are you
cool.
doing in this podcast, man?
I'm doing well, brother. Life is good. No complaints, man. Glad to be here. Thanks for inviting me to join the show.
Yeah, man. Definitely. The whole idea of the show is to shed more of a positive light as far as what we are doing, and you definitely exemplify that. So I definitely want people to know all about you. So we'll get right into it. Charles, where you from, man?
I'm born and raised San Diego, California, man. Southeast San Diego, just in the city, probably like 5 minutes south of downtown. So grew up
Okay.
in the city of San Diego.
Okay. All right. Now, are your family, are your folks, are they from that area?
My mom was born and raised in Longview, Texas, which is in East Texas near the Louisiana border, not too far from Shreveport. But in Texas,
What?
it's I think it's probably southeast of Dallas, I think. But it's the country. It's beautiful back there. But Longview, Texas, yeah, mom, and she migrated out here to California in the late 50s, early 60s. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So what's funny about that in that time, a lot of people have put it in the history books, if you will. They kind of compared it to 50s and 60s where folks was migrating from the South to California. And they were talking about how similar it was when folks from the South were moving north for like those factory jobs in like Detroit and Chicago and all of that. Because when I was at Jackson State, there was a whole lot of people there from Chicago
Okay.
and Detroit, and
All
all
right.
of them were like my parents or my grandparents. They from Mississippi or they from so I actually learned about that later once I got out here. They were talking about there was a huge migration, folks from down south out to California. So she was around that time.
Yeah, she had a first cousin that lived in Los Angeles. So she moved out to Los Angeles first uh, to be close to her cousin and probably stayed with them. I wasn't born yet at that time. And
Right.
then we all moved down to San Diego. Our cousins and everybody, we all sort of shifted down to San Diego, went south. Yeah, from Los
Okay.
Angeles. Yeah.
Yeah. San Diego's nice too. I really like enjoyed it because like we have like the user conference there and all of that, but
Right.
it definitely seems like it's a lot more milder than LA. You know what I'm saying? Where LA is kind of like off the hook a little bit.
Yeah, it's always been a sleepy military town because there's a huge naval military marine presence there in the city from even when I was born there. So the city always kind of closed down at midnight. It's kind of slow pace, but a very beautiful and friendly city, definitely.
Right, right, and the weather is a whole lot better there.
Oh, the weather, yeah, shorts, t-shirts year round,
Right,
definitely.
right. Okay, so you now growing up in San Diego, then. Um, so this is an interesting question. So, did you have or do you remember any HBCU experience, or because it ain't YouTube and the internet and all that stuff, like
Right, right.
seeing the band? What would you remember as like your first HBCU experience?
I remember it distinctly. I went to a high school that was, I wouldn't say predominantly African American. It was all African American. I mean, literally like 99% was African American, right there in the heart of the city. And when I was a sophomore, the ASB president I kind of looked up to because he was a smart brother on his game. And I remember he went to Morehouse College
Oh
because
wow!
they announced at graduation all the colleges you accepted to and all the aid and scholarships you received. And he went to Morehouse College, and I was like, "What is Morehouse College?" That was my first exposure. Of course, I went to the library, kind of looked it up, found out it was in Atlanta, and that was my very first experience, even hearing what an HBCU existed. Yeah.
Wow, wow. So he went to Morehouse. And one thing that's always kind of surprised me is just the geographical difference. Because when I moved out here, I didn't know I was going to be here, as long.
Right.
But seeing how some folks still send their kids to HBCU back, and they're from California.
Right. And the interesting thing is, so I was a sophomore and he left, and as a senior he came back, and he was working as a
Oh,
teacher assistant on campus. And so I said, I'm like, what happened? Why didn't you stay in Atlanta? He said, man, it's different than San Diego. He said I interpret it now, it was a culture shock,
yeah.
right? Even though our neighborhood was, like I said, 90% African American, it's just a different vibe, right? Than being into Atlanta. So he came back, I think he finished school up at San Diego State or something like that. But he said, back there they were treating him differently, like you ain't black, you talk like white, coming from California. So it was kind of, I think he couldn't deal with that culture shock being in the South, and also some of the brothers and sisters pushing back on his black card. You know what I mean?
Right, right, right.
So
Yeah.
that kind of stuck with me too. Well, maybe I don't need to go to an HBCU, or that kind of stuck in the back of my mind as well. So
Right, right. Yeah, and it's funny you say that because um, I've heard that as well. But then when I got out here, I definitely saw it was different. But like you said, it's different. You know
yeah,
what I'm saying?
right,
Versus when you look around and you see like entire zip codes of black folks, is
right,
really similar to, like you said, your high school was.
right, right,
But definitely there is that like cloud of like prove your blackness
right,
when you come from other places.
right, right.
Yeah, yeah, I
Interesting.
totally get that. Even like there was an issue with like North and South
Oh wow. Okay.
where like the people from Chicago would come down there and they were like, y'all country. Or like, you know what I'm saying? Like y'all
Right, right,
backwards is slow. Like it's
right.
still 1800s. Y'all don't wear shoes. Like, you know what I'm saying? And then of course the Southern folks will push back and say, well, y'all arrogant.
Right,
Y'all
right,
think y'all white, y'all better than us. You know what I'm
right,
saying?
right,
So it
right,
was interesting, and that's actually one of the reasons I got into geography. That like inter conflict a lot of black folks had
right, right,
based on like your geographical location.
right, right. It's interesting, definitely.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, all right. So I'm glad you told me that. Okay, so you had that experience then. Um, what would you say then? Did you know that you wanted to go to college when you were in high school, and
Yeah,
then
I did.
once you started to, I guess, decide about what college, what was like your college selection process like?
Well, like I said, I was born and raised in San Diego, and because I had all my friends there, so intuitively I knew I need to get out the city if I'm gonna graduate. I need to get away from my friends that weren't going to college. You know what I mean?
Right, right,
I was just being real, and then but I didn't want to go too far. So either me, it was UC Riverside, UC Irvine, UCLA. Hour and a half back to home. I can get back home close enough, get some home cook and see my boys. But I knew it because I got accepted to UCSD. But I said, if I go there, I'm not going to graduate. I'll be hanging out with all my friends and not taking care of business. So, and at that time, UCR was a really small school. My high school, I think there was like 900 students in 3 grades, so 300 kids per grade. And at that time, UCR only had about 4,000 kids. So it was a small school environment, and I wanted to matriculate to a small school, which I was familiar with environment.
So UCR, you said at that time it's like 4,000? Because I
Yeah,
get, because I'm looking like when I see the stuff like sports and stuff like that. I see UCR is not like D1 or something like that. You know
well,
what I'm
they're
saying?
D1 in basketball now.
Oh, are they?
Maybe not in all sports, but some sports they are D1 because now there's like 30,000 kids on campus now. So it's a major, well, probably a mid-major university now, especially for the region. It's one of the
Wow.
largest universities, and it's definitely in the Inland Empire in Southern California as well, because the population
Wow.
has just ballooned over the last decade or two.
Right, right. Yeah, I didn't know that. I didn't know it was as small, but like again, like when I got out here, so much of my experience I didn't know anything about. I just didn't know nothing about California, period.
Right,
Other
right.
than like NWA and Snoop.
Compton, right?
Right, right, right. That's what I do. That's what I understood. Okay.
Compton.
All right. So then what was your selection process like? Like you said that you had probably reached out to places close. How did you end up deciding where you wanted to go and then where'd you go?
And back then we took on a lot of college tours, so we had a really nice high school college counselor who made sure we got to go to all the campuses. So I went to UCI, went to UCLA, went to UC Riverside, of course went to San Diego State in town. But when I got to UC Riverside, there was a woman there named Mildred Tyler. And at that time, back in the days when they were trying to get us in college, not trying to keep us out, right?
Right.
They had an equal opportunity program. She was the director of the program. This is Mildred Tyler, man. And she immediately, I'm like, oh, she's like mom's away from home because
Yeah.
and she made me feel welcome on campus. And that's why I chose Riverside for the proximity to home, and because she made me feel like I belong there just in one afternoon. And that's why I chose that campus. Definitely.
Wow. Wow. So so it's funny that and that's part of like why I do the show like I do the show is you reach out and you find like those mentors or those older folks that make a difference, and you always remember who they are.
Right.
So that's really cool, that you were able to make that connection. So
Absolutely.
so Riverside then, what are we like about 2 hours from San Diego or something like that?
Yeah, hour and a half, 2 hours. Yeah, about hour and a half. Yeah.
Okay, all right. So you decide to go there. What year? What was the fall? What was this? The fall of what when you came out to UC Riverside?
Fall of 1980. Fall of 1980.
Okay,
Yeah,
all
and
right,
it was a culture shock for me. I mean, for me, because to me it was in the middle of nowhere. I mean, I grew up in the city. I come out
right,
here, and it's just all desert. And I mean, it was warm, which I like. And a funny story: before we started school, they had a summer bridge program. So they had all because I came through affirmative action. So they had an affirmative action program. You come live in the dorms, take college classes, just to get you ramped up, ready for the fall, and try to build up any this skills that that weren't at where they should be. So if you weren't good at math, they put you in a math program. If you couldn't
oh,
write,
like a bridge program.
yeah, like it's a summer. It was called Summer Bridge, right?
Okay,
So I come up here like for a week. Also, my chest started hurting. I breathed deep, my chest would hurt. So I went to the doctor, and they like, that's just the smog. There's nothing wrong with you. Dog, I've never seen smog in my life. In San Diego, I was like, what's smog?
right.
It was a trip, man. It took some getting used to. I was like, man, what have I got myself into? Dirty air, hot weather, no nightlife. It was kind of empty. If you think the Inland Empire is missing social things now, just think 45 years ago was really
Right.
uh, a low key place, but it ended up being a wonderful place for me to land. It ended up being
Yeah.
beneficial.
That's
Yeah,
that's that's funny because, and I guess it's of course that's how it is like where you're from. Um, St. Louis has like expanded like westward, so to speak. And
mm,
so I hear people now, even I hear like some black folks, and they'll say, "Oh, we live in St. Charles." And I'm like, "What? You?" how you all the way out in St. Charles? Like, you know what I'm saying? What are black people out there? Like, what's going on? But things are expanding. So
Right,
when
right.
I got here to California, I thought it was like Redlands. I saw how far it was from LA, but this was like LA to me. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Right, right, right.
Or when people say Riverside, I heard Ice Cube one time. Ice Cube had a rap and he said something about you live in Riverside, you from Riverside or something like that.
Right.
So when somebody said Riverside, and I think I went over there for the first time, I was like, oh, this is all like Southern. And then speaking of Morehouse, my cousin Chris Hartsfield, he went to Morehouse, and his two roommates were from L.A.
Okay, okay.
Yeah, and so we got to meet them, got to know them, and then when I moved out here, I reached out to them to go down there and meet them and hang out with them and all of that.
Oh, cool,
And
cool.
so uh, they were like, "Where do you stay?" And I was like, "That's in Redlands." And I was like, and they were like, "Really?" So some of them kind of knew, but they were like, "That's just far out to them," like
Right.
what you describing. And I remember I told them, I said, "Oh yeah, it's past Ontario because that's where I flew into,"
Right.
and they were like, "Yeah," I'm like, they were like, "What?" So that's when I kind of started seeing that, like, okay, this must be like totally different. This area, or the Inland Empire, like I started to get it then.
Yeah, yeah, it's hilarious. Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, the sad thing is, I mean, like San Bernardino used to be popping back in the 70s and 80s. Because I had a big military base there, but a lot of musicians are out there, had great soul food restaurants. I mean, it was a very, people would come from LA to go hang out in San Bernardino back in like the 70s and early 80s.
Wow. Really?
Yeah, it was a spot to go hang out, definitely.
Wow.
Just when that military base closed down, it just sucked all the economy out the city, all the
Wow.
jobs and support jobs, and of course the military members spending money in local economy. It just never recovered. It's really sad.
That's crazy. Yeah, I don't think I knew that because the only ones that I recognize are, I mean, this is March Air Force Base, but that's Riverside though, right?
That's where it's like. It used to be a base called Norton Air Force Base, right off tip of Canoe, right back there. It's where the new airport is in San Bernardino. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
I used to be a military base back in the day. Yeah.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I didn't know that, dog.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So you out here, you see Riverside. You kind of describe the change in the scenery, something like that. What would you say was your most memorable experience um, there at UC Riverside in
Uh,
college, I guess?
oh man, they're numerous. You know that. uh,
Right.
I mean, truthfully, just when I truly think back about it, just think how I came in as an 18-year-old and just the growth that I experienced. Because it took me 5 years to graduate. So the 5 years it took me to
Me
graduate,
too. Me too.
just the growth as a young man. I mean, I came in not knowing what I wanted to do, not knowing what I really wanted to major in, not knowing what my future held for me. But I knew I wanted something more. I just didn't know what that more was. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because my mom, she had an AA degree and she was a nurse. She had an AA degree, but I'm sort of first gen when it comes to college, a
Right.
4-year degree. So it was, I'm thinking like, do I belong? I got in, but can I get out? You know what I mean?
Right.
And like I said, my school was 98% African American. Everybody I knew was 98%. I mean, it was like when you get on the freeway, you got close to my house, all the cars around you just be black people. I mean, I'm not even exaggerating. I'm not even. So when I got to UCR, it's different because I'm around white people, which they were like foreigners to me, man. If it's my
Right.
professors, I wouldn't go let a professor know I needed help because I'm not. I just wasn't used to reaching out on that level. You know what I mean?
Right.
At least not as a freshman. When I'm my junior, senior, I kind of got past that. But I say that's my most memorable experience. Just the growth as a young man coming in and getting out and being ready to go to pursue a life of happiness. Pursue a dream. I ended up majoring in statistics, right? Because I was undeclared my first 2 years. I was thinking about going to pharmaceutical school, and some other things, but I took some science class. I'm like, that's not really for me. I took some sociology class. I'm like, that's too subjective. I need something that's more quantitative. So, and I always loved math. So, because to me, math is either right or wrong. That's kind of my personality. I don't like the whole gray area thing. So me graduating with a Bachelor of Science from statistics is, it's something I never would have dreamt of entering into that university. I was just trying to get out, but it prepared me for life, and I'm just appreciative that I was able to accomplish that.
Yeah. So that rolls in my next question. So I was going to ask you what your major was. How did you pick? And I guess you kind of described it a little bit there. What were the other things that you tried out as far as, and then you ended up sticking with statistics?
Yeah, like I said, so I had a family friend whose aunt was a pharmacist, right? So I'm like, I'm gonna go be a pharmacist. You know how that works when you're a kid. You see somebody that kind of balling, like, oh, I'm gonna be like them.
Yeah, there you go. Right.
Because hey, positive role models. And like I said, I didn't really like molecular biology. It was okay, but it just wasn't. And I took a stat class and I got an A. I'm like, oh, here's my major. But I love math and I love statistics because I can see how it can be applied across different professions, from insurance to business. And I realized having a strong math background would benefit me in the future. And I did sort of a minor in computer science because, computer technology was starting to expand. And I tell everybody this story. My mom told me, she said, she was a nurse. Said, well, they're changing everything in the hospital. They're computerizing everything. Everything, they're moving computers and everything. Computers are the future. You should make sure you get an education in computers. So that's my mom. So so math and computers is what I pursued based on her advice and based on sort of the foresight that I had as well. But it was very difficult for me. Like, I'm no brainiac. I wasn't one of those cats that came in getting straight A's. No, it was work. But it's work that benefited me because after that challenge, everything else has seemed easy. I mean, literally, my master's, I was like, this is nothing compared to my undergrad challenges, because UCR has had a really, really good statistics program that was kind of world renowned, actually, a lot of foreign grads and stuff. So it was highly competitive. And I fought and scratched to get out of that bad boy without changing my major. So everything after that was an easy challenge. Programming, operational research, getting my MBA. It's like that was nothing. That was easy. So it prepared me handily. And I guess going back to the question, memorable, when I was in college, we had a radio station. This is the fun part of it. And I was a DJ on the radio. So, and we used to give parties around Riverside because back then there was no soul station that would come out to Riverside.
Wow.
So there was no R&B I grew up with soul music. So we were like little celebrities. We get party people, we ask for our autographs, we throw these big parties. And it was fun. It was fun, but it was kind of, because I ended up being a program director we had a thing called Soul on Sunday. And we were the SOS crew. And I was like program director. So I got experience managing people and planning events and things. It got me that experience in sort of operations, which I know it was at the time, but it's really operations management. So that was, we used to do the Black History Parade, the MLK Parade. We'd be on floats waving at people and stuff like that. It was kind of cool. That was also a wonderful experience, my undergrad experience.
Okay, so what year did you start with the radio station?
That was my second year, so my sophomore year. And my brother was really big into music growing up, so I had a wide exposure to music. I just love music even today. So just on the show, man, I had doing, of course then it was all vinyl, it was no digital. It was real. If the record had a scratch, it was scratch on the radio, But it was fun. People call up, make requests and do dedications. And one of the interesting things that happened on the radio show, we used to go do parties for the inmates at California Institute for Men and the California Institute for Women at the prison. Just kind of, because they used to call in doing dedications, so they thought we were like celebrities. So as sort of community outreach, we would go out there and give parties for them. Just a dance, for the inmates. Or we go play the guys, we go play one-on-one basketball. Once again, it was all the brothers because we were all brothers on the station, and most of them were brothers in the chapter. We were just trying to portray a positive image to some of the inmates. Some brothers out here care about you and just, try to do some positive things while you're in here. So that also was very impactful for me to see. Because even as a visitor, man, when you walk in, they take yourself and that gate closed, mentally it's like, oh man, I'm locked up, man. It was a trip. Even though you hopefully getting out after your visit, but it was sobering, man. Like, man, I don't want to ever end up in here, man. It was sobering. Absolutely.
Wow, dog, I didn't know that. That's what's cool about like when I do this show. Even if I talk to someone, as much as I talk to you, you always find out something new about them.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
When we had the conversation. Okay, so you started doing that, and so a lot of folks, they know your alias, Jam and Q, and so a lot of people say, "Oh yeah, well you were a DJ in college." So, did you actually like apply for that? Like, were you already doing like DJ stuff? Like, how did you slide into actually being a DJ there on the radio?
Yeah, I found out they had a radio station, and they already had the Sunday programming was all African American programming, all soul music. So I know I was listening to the radio. Oh, okay, I'm gonna kind of. So I talked to the manager. They did a little interview, and he hired me. He said, "Yeah, you can come do the show. Here's your time slot. Get here 10 minutes before. Pick out your, what you're gonna play. Do your sort of playlist." It was interesting because coincidentally, I had an older brother, and he was a DJ in college too. And so, of course, he's trying to follow some footsteps. So, but just my love for music and my knowledge of music, I was like, oh, this is going to be cool. I'd love to be a DJ and share music with the people. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because, yeah. So it was cool. It was a cool experience.
Okay. All right. So you kicking it and you're doing all the stuff on the yard. So this makes me then, because basically how you kind of broke down the story, it's definitely like a new exposure to you.
Right.
What made you start thinking about pledging a fraternity? And then how did you end up pledging the fraternity that you did?
Well, in high school, I got a couple scholarships from fraternities. I got one from the Kappas and one from the Omegas. As a senior graduating out of Lincoln High School in San Diego. So I didn't quite know what they were about, but they were giving brothers some money. So I was like, I got to look into here.
Right.
When I got to college. And then, at college, you kind of, it's all the fraternity sorority were giving the parties on campus in the commons, So, you just, and for me, it's like attracts like, right? You kind of gravitate to the people that are doing the things that either you're doing or things that you want to do. And you kind of distance yourself from the people that are doing things that you don't want to do, right? And that's how I kind of ended up pledging, because I did see the power in pledging and belonging to an organization. In high school, I was ASB president, so I was part of student government. And another funny story, man. So I got to UCR, so we're going to a BSU meeting. I'm like, what's the BSU? No, I didn't know we didn't have no BSU. I'm like,
right. My whole school black.
Literally, everybody looked at me. I'm like, dog, we didn't have no BSU in Lincoln High School. But I saw the power. So from high school and being part of student government and the doors that opened for me, I always got a sense being part of an organization that's doing positive things. Couldn't help but benefit you. It's a way to give back. And then one of my counselors during the summer bridge program was an Omega. So him and I used to chop it up, in the summer. And then there's some other guys that I came into summer bridge. There were 7 of us, and we kind of had a little meeting. Okay, we're going to pledge Omega because those brothers are graduating. They have a positive image on campus, and we kind of like what they're about. And that's how I ended up pledging Omega or getting online. So we went to what back then was called a smoker, which is really informational, where you come in your little suit and tie, and they kind of fill you in on the purpose of the organization and sort of the initiation requirements to join the fraternity and things like that. And they were cool, so I kind of like what they were saying and about the national presence of the organization. Oh, it's a good organization to belong to. And that's how I ended up getting online with Omega Sci-Fi.
Okay. So at that time, was Gary B at this smoker, or had you met him, or had you seen him around at that time?
I had not met him. He was not at the smoker, but I've heard of him.
Oh, wow. Really?
Your brother's like, oh, yeah, Brother Biggers. So yeah, I've heard him, but he was not at the Smoker at that time. It was mostly because we had a pretty strong undergraduate presence. So it was mostly all the undergrad brothers. There weren't even no grad brothers at the Smoker. It was all undergrad brothers.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Okay.
Because we were like 15, 20 deep at that time on campus. So, and the brothers, we had like a national scholar in the chapter. I mean, so they were taking care of business. So I think the grad chapter was kind of like, okay, you guys can handle it. So, yeah.
That's good to hear. And then what's so funny is the positive of what you say, because you talk about the brothers graduating and doing well. It sometimes it depends on what chapter you hear, because everybody's got their stereotypes. You know what I'm saying?
Right, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, for me, pledging was a positive experience. It helped bring some things out of me that I didn't know I had, and it taught me patience. I mean, because I wouldn't, only one ever raised their voice to me was my mother. So for me to sit there and let somebody yell at me took a lot, brother. I'm telling you, I'm like, yo, man, we can go on the side here and talk about this, but it helped me later, because now I don't get fazed by such things. You know what I mean? And now pledging has some positive things. Of course, I know it's not positive for everyone everywhere.
Right.
But at that time in 1981, Sigma Eta was a very positive experience that we did a lot of positive, uplifting things.
That's cool. That's cool. And so then that was my next question is, so that was then 1981. Were you the fall or the spring?
We were fall.
Okay, fall
in December. We quarter systems, dog. So it was December.
Oh, that's right. So that it was still quarter system back then.
Yeah. So
okay, so was it like a line would go every year? Because I know back in the day, like at Jackson State, I guess in the 70s, I think even some a little bit later on, and so later, sometimes they had like a line each semester. There would be like a fall line, and then there would be like a spring line. Was it similar like that?
Yeah, we would have a line, either we call fall or winter quarter, and then you might have one in the spring or in the spring quarter. It just depends on interest, and so we could have two a year. Most of the time it was just one, but sometimes we did have two lines. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, they done stopped all that at a lot of places down south, but definitely at Jackson State, they ain't no more fall lines no more, because they avoiding homecoming.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Okay. Yeah, it ain't no, and then everybody pledges together. Every organization has their own thing, but
they start.
Yeah, they call it when I was there was a spring MSP.
Okay.
And instead of like a rush, like I heard, like I didn't know what a rush was.
Yeah, we didn't.
Right, because that was more right. It was more like a smoker thing. But
right.
Now what happens is when I was there, I'm sure it's changed, but all of the organizations went to the spring informational,
right.
And all the fraternities and sororities were there. And then you filled out a form, and then you turned in the form, and you said on the form what you wanted to pledge. And then the organizations would get the forms, and they would, triage out, who and where and all of that. And then after that, like they had their like schedule of events, and it was had to be all on board with the university. So it was like the spring informational, and then the smoker. And then you had a certain day to start. You had a certain day to finish.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. So they're trying to make sure that right. And I think it's still like that to a certain degree today. There at Jackson State. And then they also bumped up the GPA. Which was another issue with mine. It was normally a 2.5.
Yeah.
Where I think it's national. Well, there at Jackson State, it was a 2.75.
Okay, that's reasonable.
Yeah. Well, except the brothers like me that was all about the band. Hey man, that 2.5 was. I was like, damn, 2.5, man, that's tripping. That's how I was, man.
Oh, that's
But you
hilarious.
know what's so funny is when you talk about like things that you recognize and how life was. That was the biggest thing for me, other than like my parents being these huge educators. Where I was like, man, I was so much involved with trying to be in the band. And back in those days, man, you would practice six until,
Oh, wow.
because a lot of times we were getting out of practice after 12 o'clock
Oh, wow.
at night. And so that didn't bother me because I was like, hey, that's what I'm in college for, is to march in the band. I ain't tripping about class the next day or nothing like that. You know what I'm saying? So
Not
then
letting
when it,
class get in the way. Huh?
right. Of course not, Uh,
Oh,
and
man.
then when it came around, the first opportunity was the spring informational of 1999. And they said, man, you got to have a 275. And I was like, what? You gotta do that to pledge? Like, and I was like, oh man. So the thing about it is that's what started getting me into my books. Because as you know, even you seeing other black folks around, you seeing black folks, it does make a difference when you see that you seeing other black folks and they got a 3.4 or they
Right.
got straight A's or something like that. You're
Oh,
like,
yeah.
oh man, that brother's doing it. Like, or
Right.
that sister's doing it. So
Right.
that made a difference with me. And that was one thing that helped me out at a black school, was where it was mostly black, but you were seeing people who were going to law school, you're
Right.
seeing
Right.
people going to medical school. I was like, wow, man, you know what I'm saying? I should maybe, try to start going to class. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
so
Oh, man.
so that was the biggest thing. That was the biggest thing. I couldn't pledge. And I was like, oh man. So I started, doing what I had to do to try to start doing that. What would you say was your most memorable experience pledging or being a part of Omega Psi Phi?
Most memorable. Let me think.
Because I
Like I
know,
said,
I'm sure it's a couple.
oh, there's a few. Um, I would say right after we crossed, not played, right after we crossed, we marched at the UCLA Step Show. And that was a
Oh,
huge step show. I mean, back then it was in this big, poly pavilion. It wasn't in the basketball, but it was in some huge auditorium. And we set it out, back old school, but it was cool. It was just cool. And because they would have a Black Greek weekend. And, like I said, being in Riverside, we weren't really exposed to that many brothers and sisters. We always got to travel.
right.
But to be on campus to see the Zetas, and the AKs, the Deltas, and everybody's just chilling as brothers and sisters. It was really nice to see. And it's like, dang, I should have transferred to UCLA. But it was cool. And like I said, pledging was just an exercise in discipline for me, because like I grew up in a single household, so I don't really have a male figure, anybody, own me about certain things. It was always, I did things on my own accord. I'll tell you a funny story. Like coming to college, I picked my own college. I filled out my financial aid papers because my mom was busy, and I never wanted to be a burden to her, because it's a funny thing. She would say, "I'm gonna work a double shift." I'm like, "Okay, mom." I didn't even know what a double shift was. Until I got older. Like, oh, mom's working 16 hours. So my whole
Right.
goal, my life never be a burden. So I did everything, man. And the guy in my summer bridge program that I mentioned, there was a bruh, like so we came to the summer bridge program. My mom, she was in Texas at the time. So I had my cousins who we moved down to San Diego would bring me up from San Diego to UCR. And they literally just dropped me off at the curb, dog, because they were on their
Wow.
way to LA. I mean, they put my bag out, like, talk to you later. Love, it's the love. And the funny thing is, I didn't think anything was wrong with that. You know
Right.
what I mean? It wasn't until like later my friends started teasing me. He said, I can't believe nobody was at the orientation for you, dog. But in my mind, it was like I didn't need anybody. I had my path set. I'm gonna take care of business. And that was just kind of who I was, man. That's just, because I did it on my own, with love and support, but I was always used to figuring things out for myself, by myself. You know what I mean?
Right.
So when I joined the frat, I had other brothers who had similar experiences where they didn't have family support for whatever reasons. We kind of leaned on each other and mentored and advised each other when we were, when we needed it. You know what I mean? So that's what the frat's about, man. Telling people what they need to hear when they need to hear it, not what they want to hear when they want to hear it. You hear what I'm saying?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. And that's and again, part of the reason why I do the show and part of the reason why I have these interviews is, to hear people's experience. And like you said, you did stuff on your own. I think what's special about you is that you had that initiative about yourself. Because there are also a lot of people on the other side will be like, oh, well, I didn't have this, so I'm about to go out here and show my behind. Like,
Yeah.
you know what I'm saying? Or, I can make these because, I had this. And so that's why I think your story is important. So people can say, like, oh, this brother had the same experience you did, and then he went into statistics. Or like, it's funny that you say that they just dropped you off on the curb. My parents were, I always joke with, a lot of my friends that my parents were the United Negro College Fund. They were just super highly educated. And so
right.
I remember when I got there at band camp was before like the regular mass of students that come in. So on campus, it was the band and the football team. So when you got there, you did all your stuff with your classes and stuff, but it wasn't so like massive. It wasn't a whole bunch of lines and all that. So it helped. And so I remember thinking my parents were going to drop me off and it's time for me to start bonding and start kicking it with people.
Right.
They were like, well, no, you got to get your schedule. And I was like, what? What do you mean? What do you do? She's like, you got to get your classes, boy. Like, you know what I'm saying? And I didn't know about all that. I was just worried about, all right, do I know all my scales? Or like you know what I'm saying?
Right. The band.
Right. So I remember they, helped me get my schedule together. But then we went to Walmart and had to buy all the cleaning supplies so I could move into the dorm and all of that stuff like that. So yeah, my experience was different, but I was just all about the band.
And you make me think about that in the sense that like I grew up very humbly, I would say that, right? And I just knew there was a better life. I didn't know what that life was, but I knew there was a better life. And I was in pursuit of it day one, dog. I was like, okay, I gotta live better. I gotta live better than I grew up. Even though I felt loved, fed, welcome. We weren't going on summer vacations. You know what I mean? It's like, I'm like, there's got to be a better life. And I'll be real. You grew up humbly or poor, and you grew up in those schools, man. Poor people are mean, dog. People talk about bullying, phone bullying. Y'all don't know the half of it, dog.
Right.
When you grow up and everybody poor and their parents are hitting on them, they come to school hitting on you. You know what I mean? It's just, and I never, I always avoided those conflicts. I was never a person trying to belong. You know what I mean? I was always trying to be a leader. Like, y'all doing some bonehead stuff. I ain't going to tell on you, but I ain't doing it with you. Right. You know what I mean? Right. And God bless him with that personality. That's all I got to say about it. I was blessed to have that mentality. There were people breaking entries, stealing stuff, stealing bikes. I'm like, oh, dog, I want no part of that, dog. I got better things to do. I got a future, man. I ain't trying to get caught up. Right. You know what I mean? So, yeah, like you said, you can go either way. You can say, I had nothing, so I'm going to go out and do this. Or I don't have that, so I'm going to do the right way to achieve those things. Like I never knew my dad, so when I had kids, I want to be the father that I never had. You know what I mean? Right. Not saying I can't be a father, no one ever taught me. I don't believe that. Everything I dreamt about, every father that I wanted, I tried to be that person towards my kids. And so the life I didn't have, I try to fulfill those things. And not just monetarily, but just education, man. Because I would, like in our school, like we read like the autobiography of Malcolm X. Those are our books we were reading. We weren't reading like Mice and Men and all that stuff. Teachers, and I met a teacher, they were always telling me, knowledge is power. And that kind of stuck with me. They said, that's one thing no one could ever take from you is knowledge. And I bought that, I own that. And I believe that, man. You got to be knowledgeable, man. So you can discern from the noise and the misinformation, right, and know what the truth is and be able to analyze information and data, man. And that falls into my statistics, right? You know what I mean? Knowledge is power, man. And I kind of grabbed onto that to take me throughout my life, definitely.
Yeah, yeah. And that's part of the reason why I'm glad I met you, because I definitely needed more of that. Because I was a follower. I'm telling you, if everybody was doing it, I was trying to do it too. You know what I'm saying? And I would be excited about it. You know what I'm
Oh
saying?
man, oh man.
I remember my folks, and it's so much where I heard this like everywhere, even on TV. They always say, "Well, if everybody jump off a bridge, well, you gonna do it." I
Right,
remember when my father first said that to me. I remember I really thought about it. Like I didn't understand. The point is, you jumping off and you about to die, fool. Like that's not
right,
the. I was thinking, well, why is everybody jumping off the bridge?
right.
Like, is there something going on? Like, what I'm saying? So that whole mentality for me was it was backwards. You know what I'm saying? So I had to bump my head a lot of
Right,
times
right,
with the experience, but I was just really lucky that I had some good parents and they
right,
were well off. I mean,
right.
my folks both postgraduate degrees.
Nice. Yeah.
They met there in St. Louis at Washington University. So, they were in graduate school when they
Right.
met,
Okay.
but I was really happy they were both went to HBCUs.
Hmm.
And then most of my family was. So you're probably you're a little bit younger than my parents, but even still, people your age, you grew up in Mississippi or North Carolina, you ain't going to UCR or
Right, right.
UCLA.
Yeah.
You ain't going there.
Right,
you know,
right.
you going to Alabama State or you going to Jackson State. You going somewhere like that. Um, my
Yeah.
great grandmother went to Barber Scotia, which is another school in North
Oh
Carolina.
wow. Oh wow.
So that was the whole thing where my family knew about school. But I mean, I ain't gonna lie, dog. I was in the band, dog. I mean, that was my thing. My dad was in the band, and he would take me to all the games, and so I was all into. So that was. I'm lucky that it was at least something that made me want to go to college. You know what I'm saying?
And I guess another motivating factor. I had a brother. He since passed in '81 actually, and he came up go to the Claremont colleges right not too far from us. And I remember as a kid, I used to, 'cause I grew up in the hood. I used to think he was a nerd because he's like at the science fair doing all this stuff. And he went to college. He came back home. He was cool. He had a girlfriend. He was smoking. I mean, he dressed. I'm like, if college could do that for him, I'm gonna be off
Right.
the chart.
Right.
No joke. He came back. He's a DJ. He played a little college basketball. I'm like, I got to go to college because I know my game's gonna be up. Oh yeah.
Right.
But
Right.
kind of my role model once again, that because once again he got into a 4-year college. Like, he can get in, I can get in. Come on. So
Right.
that was kind of another mentor motivator as well. That was in my family unit. My mom got her AA. He didn't finish his 4-year degree, but him going there opened the door for me and created the possibility for me to go. You know what I
Right.
mean? So he did his part. Absolutely.
That's cool. Oh, that's cool. Okay. So now you done pledged, you the bros, you done had the experience with the radio station. You about to graduate. What year did you finish? And then what was the next step? What did you do after that?
So I graduated in '85, in June of '85. So in May back then, I was filling out resumes, sending jobs, trying to get interviews,
Yeah.
because my G I was not 4.0, I'll admit it. So my GPA wasn't him, but I'm like, I knew whatever job I get, I was going to be good at it. I just knew that intuitively because I'm a hard worker.
Mm-hmm.
So I've sent out resumes, and coincidentally, we had a career counselor. We had a career center on campus. We had a brother who was a African American brother that was a career counselor. And unbeknownst to me, he sent my resume to a company here. I think it's called Aerial Information Systems, based here in Redlands. And what they used to
Wow.
do, they would go collect street data for Thomas Brother maps. I know most of your listeners may not know it, like a book guide. So they would drive around there and do address matching manually.
Oh, Thomas brought the little
The
book.
Thomas guide,
Oh,
yeah.
no, you took it
Oh
way
yeah,
back
oh
with
yeah.
that one.
So they were a data vendor for Thomas Brothers, and they were looking for technical people that had some career experience. So they called me up, and they described the job. Yeah, we go to LA, we drive around, we do address. I'm like, no, thank you. So I said, no, I don't want to be there because at the time I was still DJing. So I was making enough money DJing because I used to go parties and make money. Because I was like a college rep to all the record companies. So, so I was not pressed to get a job. So unbeknown to me, AIS shared their resume with Esri. They shared my resume with Esri.
Wow.
So I get a call from Esri. And once again, like, we're Esri, we're in Redlands. I'm like, where's Redlands? I didn't know where Redlands was, though. Like 30 minutes away. Because every time I was going somewhere, I was going west or south, LA, San Diego. So I came out and dog, it was like 80 people working at Esri at the time, right? Wow. One building. And, and they made me feel welcome. I mean, no joke. I was like, okay. It's like, and I was one of the first college graduates they hired. I was working in professional services. So I met, it was a day interview. I met everybody liked me. So the HR person at the time was Laura Dangerman.
What?
So she called me and said, hey, everybody liked you, want to offer you a job. And then what they offered me was less than I was making in my summer job at UCR. I was like, nah, I can't work for that little amount. So I turned them down, dog.
What? What? Dog, you just blew my mind, dog.
I was like, nah, it's okay. I don't know. Because my goal was I was going to go work in finance in LA. I was like, I'm heading to the city. I ain't going to be stuck in San Bernardino County. So maybe 2 weeks ago, I get another job. Say, hey, Charles, this is Jack Dangerman. I own Esri, and I heard you came out for an interview. Everybody really liked you and everything. We understand that the money can't meet your need, your target, but we're a small company, we're growing. I'd like you to come out and meet with me. So I came back out for the second round of interviews, met with him, and it was cool. Once again, I told my mom. She's like, well, they seem like they liked you. You turned them down, and they reached out again. So obviously, like you, you should take the job. Once again, that's the only reason I took the job.
Wow.
My mom's wisdom. And it was cool. And as you know, it's been a positive experience as well. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I didn't know what GIS was. I knew geography. But like I said, I did some Pascal programming in college and COBOL, so Fortran. So I could code, you know what I mean? So it was familiar in that sense. And it was a nice, friendly environment. So and it was close to Riverside where I lived at the time. So I took the position. And from then on, it's just been a positive experience, definitely.
Wow, dog. So what year was this?
This is 1985.
So you finished in 85. That's
June.
right, 85. And so I guess you finished with like May of 85.
June, quarter system, dog. We finished in June. That's
right. I keep forgetting.
And I started working in September.
Wow, dog. So you were also lucky where it wasn't that much of a gap of time from when you graduated and when you started, when you got your job.
Yeah.
I think I told you I finished May of 2003 when I got out of graduate school, and I was substitute teaching.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow.
And because where my mother lives now, Charlotte, my grandmother had just passed the year before, so her house was empty. But we weren't gonna sell it or anything like that. We wanted to keep the house in the family, and I moved in there when I got out of graduate school, and I went to Johnson C. Smith for 1 year, so I knew people in Charlotte, and I was chilling, but I was looking for a job, and I started substitute teaching. That was the first thing, and then they said, well, to start, you got to take a drug test. I was like, oh, shit. Like what? To substitute teach? What? What kind of mess is that? So I didn't stay in Charlotte, dog. I moved to Nashville because I had some friends from Jackson State in Nashville, and they were like, "No, you don't need no drug test." I was like, "All right, I'm there." You know what I'm saying? And then that's how I ended up in Nashville, and then I was there for a year at a business partner. It was called Smart Data Strategies. but they always put like right there, we're SDS, but we're ESRI certified. You know what I'm
Okay.
saying?
Right. Right.
And we would we had maintenance, and then they would design, because most of the clients were like mappers in
Right.
like counties in Tennessee and in
Right.
Alabama.
Right.
So to kind of help them do their editing, they had this thing called a parcel mapper,
Oh
and
yeah.
it would sit on top of desktop, and it would have like buttons. It would really break down or tutorialize
Hmm.
the software.
Right.
And so they were like trying to build, and so then we had a SDE,
Right.
and you had SDE at all the counties. So dog, I don't know if I ever told you this. I got there, and mind you, just my first job. Before then, I had worked 9 months. I was delivering pizzas. I had a
Oh,
paper
wow.
route,
Oh
and
wow.
I was working at a gas station. I was working at a bakery and a gas station, waiting for my time, and substitute teaching, because remember, I can pass there, you
Right.
know. And so I get this job, and they say, okay, you have your master's in geography, you can start learning how to install SDE at all the client sites.
Right. Okay.
And they were doing it wrong.
Oh.
So SDE, they had it set up. You're supposed to set it up where you have like all these different layers of editors, and then you save it back to like the default database,
Right.
um, after a week or something like that. And they had just, I think, I don't know if SD just came out, but it was new.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so they were setting it up, and then I got there, and they were showing me how to do it. Dog, probably, I want to say maybe a couple months in, after I started doing it,
Right.
people started saying, "Oh, we having some problems." And basically, because of how they were showing me, how they were setting it up, it
Okay.
was overloading the database, because they were editing on like the main database. They weren't
Right.
like, so essentially they were doing it wrong.
Right.
And like all like the certain people there, I'll just say certain people, they
Right.
were
Right.
like, this kid from this black school got here, and we showed him how to do it.
Right. Right.
And so now, so like counties, like their data was corrupted, and they were like losing work, dog.
Oh wow.
And people were going to work and not being able to work
Oh wow.
because they couldn't edit,
The
they
day.
couldn't do their work. So I would cry, dog. I was like, I don't know. I swear to God, I did what you told me. So then they reached out to, I think they reached out to ESRI, and somebody from Memphis came, and they explained like, okay, well, you guys were setting this up wrong.
Right.
And so they walked through everything. And so I kind of felt like I felt better, but
Right.
I was like, I was crushed. I
Right.
mean, because a lot of them were basically blaming me,
Of course. Of course.
and I ain't even been there a year.
Right.
And here you go, you coming in, you with this master's degree, you messing up everything.
Right. Right. Oh man.
So the guy's name was Rodney, and I remember I reached out to him one day. I said, "Please take me with you." That's basically what I said. I was like, "I can't stay here. I'm learning something that they learned wrong. I don't know how much more wrong they gonna tell me. You know what I
Right.
mean?
Right.
Please get me out of here." And so he said, "Well, they're always hiring in tech support." And
Yeah.
so then I
Okay.
reached out to tech support. That's how I got out here,
Oh
dog.
wow. Okay. Oh cool.
Yeah, yeah. This was like right after Katrina too.
Okay. Okay. Cool.
So they asked me to come out here, and for my interview, I think I came out here in October, and then they said, okay, they gave me a job. Can you be here in December? And I think with like the hurricane, I couldn't come out here. So I had to wait like a month, and then like January, things had cleared up a
Oh
little
okay.
bit.
Okay.
So
Oh wow.
January '06, that's how I got out here, dog.
Oh cool. 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 And
Yeah.
I'll tell you a funny story. So when I started working, I was in professional services, and the work they give me was so easy, I wouldn't come to work.
What?
Because like I said, I was making money DJing. I would put my checks, I didn't even cash them. I was like, I don't need that money. So one day, the director called me in his office and said, Charles, you're not coming to work. You got to work at least 32 hours to keep your benefits. He said, why aren't you coming to work? I said, the work's too easy. Give me some more challenging work. This work is like, anybody can do this work. It's too simple for me. I'm bored. I'm not going to come to work and just sit here and pretend like it's difficult. Word got out that I said that. Everybody was mad at me.
Oh!
Who is he? Thinks he's so smart. I'm like,
Right.
obviously I am, people.
Right.
I mean, it was. So then he was like, oh yeah, I finally got somebody smart with a brain. It was a trip, but I mean, I got to give them credit because they could have just fired me, right? You know what I mean?
Right.
But I think they understood that I was this young go-getter, and they just didn't have any of those in house. At least not in that department, because I wasn't part of development. That's the people that do like install SDE for customers and stuff like that.
Right. Right.
And and like I said, I was really the first one with a technical degree in that division. They had me digitizing. I don't even know what digitizing is, like digitizing math.
Oh, I know. I do know. I actually started that in graduate school.
Yeah.
So that was like 2001, but it was on the way out the door.
Right.
So I did a couple.
Yeah. And like I said, my undergraduate degree was it hazed me so much. Anything else was easy. I mean, it's like, so I started coding and stuff. Like, oh, you can do that. So after that, I just took off after that. Once they realized that they didn't have to slow roll me, right? Just throw whatever you get. And then my next manager said, well, I don't have a bachelor's degree, but I got an AA degree. I'm like, dude, and I said, man, you're one of the smartest cats here at the company. You don't have to apologize to me about that. I said, you're a smart guy. I'm gonna learn a lot from you. And then after that, we were cool. You know what I mean?
Right.
Anyway, he was a good manager, actually. He was very smart, just, and eventually he went and got his master's and stuff like that. And he just retired, actually, from Esri after 40 years, too.
Do I know him? Who your manager is?
His name was Daryl Smith. I don't know if you ever knew Daryl Smith.
No, I don't
he was a professional, just a really good-hearted guy, really good guy. Loved geography, loved the work, and very, very, very smart dude. So I was lucky to work with him as well. So
right.
Because other people were just hating on a brother, like, oh, he's because then they start promoting me, like past people, right? Well, how did he get a promotion ahead of me? I'm like, that ain't my problem.
Right. Wow. So what's really dope about that is, and I have to give Jack his credit. He does seem like somebody that's down to earth.
Yeah.
I mean, as you know, I see him. Well, not probably since like the virus, but I used to see him all the time in the caf.
Yeah.
Like he was just like a regular dude.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And I met him and shook his hand a couple of times, and I was like, yeah, man, I'm from St. Louis, blah blah blah. He was like, that's good. So I was like, damn, that's the dude with all the money. You know what I'm saying?
That's to do with the bag, absolutely.
Right.
Yeah,
but that was special.
Yeah.
That he reached out to you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Look, in hindsight, man, I was like, yeah, I was feeling it, man. I'm, like I said, man, getting my bachelor's in statistics, I felt, I don't know, vindicated is the word, but I felt unleashed. You know what I mean?
Right.
Because I knew whatever, because I used to be in the library from like 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. on Saturday, dog.
Wow.
Doing multivariable mathematics, linear equations. I mean, just stuff I look at now, like, how did I even graduate? You know what I mean? But I knew whatever, because I knew I just had that grind. You know what I mean? So work was easy. I'm like, this is easy stuff, man. Absolutely. There has been a challenge. I tell people today, I can do anything. Right. And I believe that because I got the grind. You got to have that grind, man, and believe in yourself. That's what it's about.
And that's what I've always noticed about you. Because I know I share with you, like, because, I've had a couple, well, I ain't gonna say a couple managers, but I had a manager, you know what I'm saying? And so there were a lot of times what the things you said, and that's what I'm hoping the listeners pick up from my conversation with you was, you were always like, well, we'll do something different. Or like, try to do something else or take it as a challenge, you never was like patting me on the back like, oh man, you right.
Yeah.
She's horrible. Like, oh no, man, she said that. Oh no, let me, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Because a lot of times that's what like people are looking for.
Right, exactly.
Like when you vent and they want you to like, oh, I need to pat you on the back and all that stuff like that. But you weren't doing that. And so then that's when my mind started feeling like, okay, I'm here now. I've got to figure out something else. Or like, you know what I'm saying?
Yes, it's the reality of life, man. I mean, everybody gets thrown curveballs, you get impediments in your way. I'm the kind of person, something go negative for me or somebody think negative of me, I'm like, how can I leverage this to my advantage?
Right.
It's never going to stop me. Don't let it stop you. You got to figure if somebody's, we used to say, stepping to you the wrong way, right, in your workplace or something, let them think what they're going to think. But you got to think, how can I leverage them to get where I want to go? It should never hold you back. And that's always been my mantra. Like, okay, you think that? Okay, I'll show you. And for example, when I moved into software release under Clint Brown, I wasn't a programmer at the time. And like I said, I took programming classes in school, but I wasn't into it as much as I maybe should have been. And I was talking to a programmer. I said, so can you explain to me the difference between source code, object code, shared libraries, and static libraries? And they said, oh, it's too complex. I can't explain it to you. You probably won't understand it. I'm like, oh, really? 2 years later, that person was working for me.
What?
I took some programming classes. I'm like, sure. I said, the fact you know it tells me it's not that complex because you're not that smart. That was my thing in my mind.
Right.
That person worked for me on my team when I took over the whole platform programming team. I had 15 coders working for me. I'm like, it's not that complex. You know what I mean?
Right.
You know what I mean? So you gotta take, don't get upset, don't get mad, take a step back. So, okay, hey, what's my next move? How can I leverage that mentality attitude to my advantage to get where I want to go? And I'm the kind of person in my working profession, I always tell people I always want to learn, grow, and understand. You know what I mean? When I go to a meeting, I know more than anybody in that meeting because that's my goal. I do my research in advance, and I may not speak a word in the meeting, but I know that I'm as smart as anybody in that room, and I definitely make better decisions than 90% of them. And that's what you learn in your work profession. Before, when you first start, you see people in meetings, oh, I want to be in that manager's meeting. All those smart people. You get in there, like, these fools are idiots. I mean, truthfully, like, oh my God, you got nowhere near smart. You guys make some horrible decisions. It's not based on logic or intelligence or anything. You know what I mean? So it's just keep moving, keep grinding, keep growing, keep learning, keep understanding, and you can get where you want to go in life in all aspects of your life.
Right. That's dope. Yeah, I appreciate that. So you've been there now for 40 years, dog.
40 years.
40 years.
I know
What do you do now? Because I know we went through that. You got your undergrad degree.
Right.
When did you? What was the next couple of degrees you got? Like what years did you get them? Because we're getting somewhat to the end.
Okay.
And then what do you do now?
So in 2002, I went to University of Redlands through a fellowship program. Through Esri, they pay for your degree. And I got
you were on that program.
I was like in this first or second group, dog.
Oh, nice.
Oh yeah. So they pay for me. You paying, I'm going. You know what I mean? And for me, it was sort of cathartic, I would say. Like I said, my undergrad transcript's a battlefield, dog. I ain't gonna lie. I got the grad school 4.0. I was like, this is easy. I could do this in my sleep. I was writing 15-page papers like it was. I mean, it's because you get that. I got that hunger, how I can apply it at the company. I know how to study. I know how to write. I mean, it was gravy. It was easy, and it kind of gave me that added confidence that I know what I'm doing. So I was in the technical side of the company at that point. So I said, okay, maybe I want to transfer to the business side, kind of leverage my newly acquired business degree. So I left software products. Everybody said, you can't leave software. This is where everybody wants to be. You can't leave. It took me 2 years to even transfer. I'm like, I don't want to stay in the same job for 40 years.
Right.
So I went to work in corporate, and I was corporate manager of special projects. And basically, what my boss told me, go find a big problem in the company and go solve it. That was my job.
Wow.
So my job was to go fix all these projects that were not going anywhere. That usually involved multiple divisions. They just weren't working together, to get them on track and to finish them off. And it was fun because because when I was in software, I didn't even know we had a customer service because it wasn't
Right.
it wasn't part of my workflow. But this is where I got
Right.
to learn the whole company, from tech support to customer service to accounting to finance. I know everybody now. You know what I mean? And it was a really eye-opening experience. I got to travel the world, solving problems on a global scale and things like that. And then I got in, and then I was really into corporate. Then I realized that part of corporate was bullying, right? And I'm not the kind of person that succumbs to bullying.
Right.
So I realized that I need to kind of come up with a game plan to extract myself before somebody get hurt. You know what I mean?
Right. Right.
So I kind of left corporate on my own accord. I want to do something different. I don't want to do it anymore. And now work in what we call our business intelligence or data science group. So basically, our team is responsible for analyzing all our internal customer data for all the various business units. So sales, products, tech support, ed services. Everybody wants insight about our customers. What software are they buying, and what city, what sector, what industry, what licenses are they activating? Customer service to know if they took a training course, did they buy the product? So my team's job is to analyze all that data, and we built these Power BI reports, what we call business solutions, for all the internal business groups to gain insight into their specific customers.
Wow. So you kind of know, like a target, if you will, kind of, sort of.
For sales, so yeah, sales has sales targets. Products, they just want to know, we spent all this money building ArcGIS Pro extension. Is anybody even using it, right?
Right.
So
right.
we gave a customer 1,000 licenses, but they only activated one. Why is that? So people want insight, right? You think about ArcGIS Align, how many people around the world are using ArcGIS Align? What are they doing? What functions? What measures are they using? What geographical functions, overlay, clipping, what are they using? Because people want to know, because we got to be able to advance our product based on our customer intelligence, our customer insight from analyzing our own data. So the business intelligence team, that's our job, to analyze our internal data, to give everybody insight on our customer base.
Okay. So I guess also too, you would know then, because I'm an adjunct professor,
right?
And then each one of the school districts, and then the like certain community college districts has their own account with RGS Online.
Yeah, we give a lot of licenses, that what we call educational licenses, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
So a lot of junior colleges, a lot of four-year colleges, because those are growing customers. If they go through school using our software, where are they going to use? They get out, they're going to use our products.
Right. So when I teach intro to GIS, actually in all my classes, and definitely easy with intro to GIS, all of our labs are from the the license gallery, the lesson gallery.
Okay.
So it's like, ArcGIS Online, build this map of hurricane evacuations in Houston, are getting started with ArcGIS Online.
Right.
And then I also use those in the honors portions of courses, because you have the honors kids are supposed to do the basic work, but then they're supposed to also do something extra. So you then have to give them extra work, and they're supposed to do a presentation. So I'll have them as their presentation there to create a story map.
Okay,
you know what I'm saying, based on their work. And then for the labs, like if I have to teach a physical geography lab or something like that, I still use the lesson gallery lessons, and then they use it. And then what's cool for them is, what I'm really proud about is it's free. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. They're not paying an extra lab fee to use RGS Online. And that's actually the new wave here in California, is equitable services or equitable education. if you use, we have now open educational resources. So those are textbooks that are free. A lot of schools will give you a stipend for
Okay.
using a free book.
Oh,
So
nice.
I'm all across the board. Everything I'm doing is all free now.
Oh, cool. Cool.
So I could, so I could pick up the extra money. But it's cool to also that I'm able to use like the license at the school for free, and then they can do all of the tools. They have all functionality. They all the credits they need. They're able to jump in and use all of that stuff. So I'm sure that's probably came across your desk. Maybe some of the information that RGS Online is using with the California community colleges
Oh,
and
yeah,
all that stuff
absolutely.
like that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
That's pretty dope.
Yeah, because we
That's
have a
pretty
we have
dope.
a whole educational team within global business development, right? Their job is to facilitate the adoption of our products within educational systems, and they're always asking for reports.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. That's pretty dope. That's pretty dope. And then another thing that it looks like they have changed where a lot of those lessons, either some of the data was outdated or some of the things had changed.
Hmm.
They have now changed those lesson galleries now where it'll say now at the beginning, updated on, October 19th, 2025. Now.
Okay. Okay.
So I'm sure that helps some of your data now because before people using something it was out of date, that made an effect on the students and the things using RGS online where
Right.
they're trying to do the lesson and something's not, like the workflow is different because of an update or something like that. You know what I'm
Yeah, I
saying?
guess talking about students and data, and I'll make a plug for my profession.
Yeah.
Uh, I recommend everybody first calls to take some coding courses and also data science courses. I mean, 10 years ago, we were dealing in 100,000 records, millions of rows of records. Now we're dealing in, I mean, literally, we have tables in our what we call our data warehouse. We're trying to consume like 25 billion rows of data. I mean,
Wow.
it's just information. I mean, information is the new gold, man, because the more information you get, the more insight you get. So for all the college students or parents listening, I would say definitely steer your students towards data science and mathematics because it's that profession is Meta uses them, Google uses them, Amazon. I mean, it's the
Mhm.
profession of the future, especially with AI and large language models and AI agents. I mean, it's the future technology and it's tied into a geographic that the second most popular app on the Apple phone is the Map app, and the first one is the text messenger. You know, but
Wow.
it's all about location. People want to know where you at, what you're doing, and all that data is captured by the minute, by the second, by the minute, by the hour, by the day, and that creates tons of data that they need data science to consume and come up with insight. Tell me something. How can I sell more ads on Meta? How can I sell more? How can I get my package to my customer in a shorter time window? Amazon, data
Right.
science, absolutely.
Right. That's what's up, dog. So yeah, that's outstanding. So we get to the end of the interview.
Okay.
I do want to say really quick. So you guys have an understanding of how Charles is and who he is now. When I got here in '06, there is, Esri is it's a good place. And we have a full campus. So like when you talk about one building, I'm
Yeah.
still like, are you sure? Like, because it's a whole bunch. I mean, it's a campus, and then
Campus,
it's
yeah.
down. I don't know if it's State Street or something, but they said there's like Building K that's like down the street, and that's like where payroll or something like that is. That's like off campus or something like that.
Right, right.
And then there's the other one that's like over there, I guess is that building over there by the J.C. Penney and the Marshalls? Is that building still over there open?
I'm not sure about that one. I didn't talk
Yeah,
about. I'm not sure if that's still. IT was in that one for a while.
yeah, and I think tech support was over there, but tech
Right, right,
support has moved to the new building now.
right, right. Yeah.
Um, so again, that's all like that's another world to me. So we have a cafeteria, and so I always thought that was cool because now I don't have to like lose my parking space to go get something to eat. I can just walk over to the cafeteria. So I go in there one day and I see Charles. Of course, I don't know he's Charles at the time, but I saw you at least 3 or 4 times, but I remember seeing like, hey, he's black. You know what I'm saying? He's black. So and he works here. So so I think I came over and spoke to you maybe the third or fourth time. And then definitely, it seemed like, you had your stuff together. And over time, so all the listeners know, definitely developed friendship. Charles is like a mentor to me now. Well, then later on, I think I saw your license plate, and you had a license plate Jam and Q on it, or it was something else you had Jam and Q, and you said, "Oh, well, I was a DJ in college, and Q was my fraternity," and I was like, "Oh," like all of that stuff started coming back. So I think I told you later on, like, yeah, I wanted to do it. My grades wasn't right.
Right.
I had an opportunity my senior year, but I was on the way out the door. I wasn't trying to do nothing like that then, blah, blah, blah. And I remember you said, we about to have a line right now. I'll never forget that. I'll never forget that. And I was like, wow. This might be a chance. And then that fear was kicking in too. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
So I think I gave you more of my information or something like that. And I want to say that was like a Thursday when that happened. And then you called me the next Wednesday and you said, did somebody call or reach out to you? I said, no, I hadn't heard anything. Well, that next Friday, like you called me and asked me that Wednesday, that Friday. So like a week and a day from when you told me that, Keenan Mitchell called me.
Keenan, brother Mitchell, yeah.
Called me. I actually talked to him. And so he was like, well, tell me what happened. Tell me your story. And then from there, it's history, as from as we know. But yeah, I always thought that was really cool.
Yeah.
The best thing that has been meeting you was not only that you had your stuff together, but I didn't have any type of family moving out here. I knew that ESRI was huge in our field, and California, I knew that this was a good job, but mostly when I'm thinking about moving out here, it was all about the ignorance. The drugs and the alcohol, like the weather, the women, like all of that. But you definitely actually was like a mature role model. And then I met you, and then I met people like Chuck, and then of course AC, my line brother.
Right, AC, right.
But you know how AC is, like what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I was like, man, this was really a blessing because I could have came out here and just dove. Like I told you, I was a follower. I could have dove into a whole bunch of stuff and probably been back home by now. You know what I'm saying? But like you guys were able to help me in so many different ways. Later on, Charles has 2 kids. They're both in college now. But I remember I was the referee for your daughter's soccer in AYSO, and I think she was like 4 or something.
Yeah, she was 4 or 5. Yeah,
man. So it's been a lot of positive things that have helped me out, and now like you're a professional reference for me. Because now you are also able to help my family because, when we moved here and, things have been going on, I got kids now, I needed to teach to help supplement my income. And so I needed those references to help get teaching. So with your help, I was able to teach. And then now I've updated all of that stuff. So now I'm teaching like all over the place.
That's awesome. Yeah.
So
it was definitely fortunate running into you in the calf a few times, and I remember you telling me the story about your pledge experience, or you couldn't pledge, and I don't know if you said you had uncles that were Qs, maybe, or some relatives.
Yeah, I had 2 uncles.
Yeah,
and my grandfather was the brother.
Okay, grandpa. Okay, and I remember thinking, okay, it's a brother. He's on this game, so yeah, I'm glad we were able to get you online. But what I always appreciated about you, Joe, you were always honest.
Yeah.
I mean, you never hid any of your shortcomings or anything. You say, hey, I'm doing this. I need some help, or and that's that's to be respected, brother, and I appreciate that about you. And definitely, coaching the Mirrors, repping the Mirrors soccer game was a lot of fun, and they call you Uncle Joe. You're part of the family, man. You know what I mean? So it's been a blessing to have you in our lives as well. And even around campus now, I see a young brother and sister. I'm speaking, and some of them don't speak to me back, which trips me out. But I always, hey, how you doing today? I'm the old guy on campus saying hi to all the brothers and sisters. I'm gonna keep doing that, definitely.
Yeah, I sure appreciate it. And I laugh with you because the other part was Amir was 4'5", but at that time Sydney was in a car seat.
Right.
So I remember riding with you, and Sydney, he was a baby, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And so a couple years ago, because now Sydney, he tall, and he'd be like, "What's up, Uncle Joe?" I'm like, "Girl," like, you know what I'm saying? It's a trip now to see him because I saw him one time at the grocery. I saw him at Albertsons.
Right.
I was like, "Man, what you doing here by yourself, man? Look what you." He's like, well, I drove down. I'm like, "You driving?"
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So
right.
It's been cool to see that
Yeah.
progression with your kids, and
Yeah,
I'm
yours as well.
wishing the same for mine.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, see the growth. Yeah, I love talking to Kennedy and seeing how she's what she's thinking about. Absolutely.
Yeah, she's something, man. She really is.
Yeah,
So
definitely.
So I always wanted to interview you, man, and so I'm glad that we did it now, because with the progression of how things going, this is like where I am as far as technology with the streaming and with the platform I'm using.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas before it was all audio and all of that.
Okay.
So now I'm glad that I get this opportunity now, and we at this platform and we live on YouTube and Facebook and all of that.
Okay.
And so people will then be able to come back, and then you on TikTok, so you'll be starting to see the system breaks down like little snippets of our conversation, and it'll push out to TikTok. So you'll be seeing yourself on here now, dog.
Okay, cool.
Yeah,
appreciate it. Well, I appreciate you asking me to join the podcast, and as well, I'm proud of you for starting and maintaining it and following through with the podcast. That's cool. Absolutely.
Thank you, dog. So as we close the interview, is there anything that you want to say to our listeners? Any words of wisdom or anything that you want to land the conversation today with?
Well, like I said earlier, just never stop, never give up. Always keep your grind. And I'm a firm believer, either you're with me or against me. You got to realize not everybody who say they love you want the best for you. Those aren't synonymous. You know what I mean? Right. You got to be able to recognize people that support your positive sides and positive things in your life, whether it's work, family, church, whatever. Just always stay positive. Anything's achievable, and I believe it. I'm an example of that. If I showed you where I grew up and mentioned some of the things I saw growing up, I'm a member of a country club. Who thought I would be a member of a country club?
I know.
Dog, I'm working on my golf game. You know what I mean? I scuba dive, dog. I mean, so just keep the grind, keep your vision, your hope alive, man, because you can achieve it. Just don't let anybody get you off your mark. That's what I'm saying. And I'm the kind of person people know when I say no about something, Charles said no. Because I'm like, you can't talk me to anything. And you got to just be firm in your convictions, man. Just stay firm and stay focused and be there for your kids and your family. That's my advice.
Right. Well said. Real quick, before we sign, I had to laugh at you about something. So I told you I just met a brother at the Plant Power. Found out he's a math teacher at Citrus Valley from Alabama.
Right.
Okay. So he was talking about, he's been out here for a while. And so he was saying, like, seeing other Black folks doing well, and it's been a little bit more coming out since he's been here, but he was just talking about that. So he was talking about, he went to the country club one time.
Okay. All right.
And so he was like, yeah, man, I was at the country club, and he was like, he's like, I didn't see no Black folks, but he was like, man, that would just be something, and he's like, man, it would be something to see. I turn around. If I saw somebody Black up there at the country club, that would be like something. I said, man, I was like, you ain't going to believe this. I said, I got a frat brother that's a member of the country club. And I said, just this past 4th of July, we were there at the country club, at the fireworks. And he was like, he's black. That's what he said. Yes, he is. You know what I'm saying?
Oh,
and he
yeah,
was like, wow, that's amazing. So immediately, like, we exchanged numbers and
Okay.
everything
Yeah, we
because
should
it was
hook up.
like,
We should hook up.
because of course, right, because it's important that we know, because even though we're out here, it's not like it's like a billboard where you can see, oh, Charles Marshall's here or something,
Right, right, right.
So it's cool that we're able to see each other, or
Oh,
even
absolutely.
just at the basketball league at the Y, I met a guy that went to Tennessee State. You
Right.
know what I'm
Okay.
saying? And he was,
Right.
I just interviewed him, and then I met another guy at EOS, and he went to Alabama A&M,
Okay. Cool.
and I
Cool. Cool.
interviewed him last week. So we're out here, but in each circumstance, you got a educated, down to earth person, and they're doing good things. And so that's what the purpose of what I'm doing here is, but also it's something that we need to it's broadcasting. Because I mean, if we was out here messing up,
Oh,
we'd
yeah.
be on the news.
Front page. Front page. Community facts. Community
Right.
news. Right.
Right.
Yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff.
All right, dog. Well, thanks again
All right,
for
brother
being
Derek.
on the show, man. I
Oh, you're
love you,
welcome.
man. I really
Love you, brother.
appreciate everything you've done for me, man. And
All right.
so, like I said, it's family. Like, you family, so you'll always be around. And you my emergency contact at Redlands Unified, dog.
Oh, dog. Okay.
So
Good stuff. Good
yeah,
stuff. All
so
right,
I
Joe.
appreciate
Appreciate
it.
it. All right, dog.
All right. If you're interested in becoming a sponsor or a patron to the Marching Podcast, please contact the show. We'll give you the criteria so we can start to pub your business using our platform. You guys see down here at the bottom the ticker. That's the information that we have there. We put your information there. And then you guys also saw throughout the show, we'll start to put your brand here to help promote your business. The great Christy Walker there. Um, and so let us know what we can do so we can help to promote your business. All right. That's all the time we have for the show. We want to thank Charles. Also, support the brand. You can go to our website, themarchingpodcast.com. We have the Nail Your store on there where you can buy shirts and paraphernalia, swag, as they say, merch. I heard it called merch. You can buy all of that stuff. And the money goes to help support the network, but also to help support the students in the spring that pronounce here on our network, where they go to march in the fall. And that's our National Sign Day for Marching Band. That's always happening in April of each year. That's our show for this day. Check out the website. Donate what's in your heart to the Marching Podcast. That's all the time we have for listening. And remember, the eye is a better pupil and more willing than the ear. Advice may be misleading, but examples are always clear. See you next time.
All right, brothers. Take care.